Hello and welcome to this episode of The Rest is Entertainment Questions and Answers edition. I'm Marina Hyde.
And I'm Richard Osman. Hi, everyone.
Hello, Richard.
Hey, Marina. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you. I'm actually glad that our first question's got something to do with House of Games because I wanted to know a little bit more about how your last episode felt. From Tom Baker. He is careful to say not the Fourth Doctor.
I've worked for many years with a writer called Tom Baker, whose nickname was Tom Baker, not that Tom Baker.
Yeah.
So every time you talk to him, you have to say, Tom Baker, not that Tom Baker. What do you think about this?
Well, this is from Tom Baker, not the Fourth Doctor, which I think they might be cousins of the others.
But also maybe not even the Tom Baker, not that Tom Baker who I know. So this is Tom Baker, not that Tom Baker.
Isn't it?
This is Tom Baker, not that Tom Baker, not that Tom Baker.
You're going to like this one because it begins, I was watching the Snooker World Championships on the BBC.
There we go. That's all I've been doing.
And right in the middle of it, they cut away for, oh my God, Richard Osman's House of Games.
They did.
Important as House of Games is, it felt pretty jarring timing, given it was live sport and a fairly unusual drawn-out frame. Got me wondering, how do broadcasters like the BBC actually decide when to pull the plug on live event coverage? Is it strictly schedule-driven no matter what's happening, or is there supposed to be some editorial discretion in moments like that?
If I have a Venn diagram, it's the World Snooker Championships and House of Games.
If there's anything designed to torment you,
yes.
It's having to choose between those two babies.
Yeah, exactly that. So here's what happened, and I've spent a lot of last week having to answer questions about this already, but happy to do it again.
The Rest is Entertainment is presented by Octopus Energy. Now, they've looked at admin and decided it should behave much more like a game show.
When you provide your meter readings, they will give you a spin of a wheel, which allows you to win prizes, allows you to win Octo points, which you can spend in the Shoptopus. Yeah, it's the gamifying of the boring bits of your admin. Now, listen, you know how much I love Octopus Energy. The prizes, I'm going to say, are not quite up to the standard of the Wheel of Fortune. The biggest ever prize on the Wheel of Fortune. So over $1 million. What feels more similar is some of the random prizes they'll get on the Wheel of Fortune. They've had ceramic Dalmatians. I saw one where you could win a Gucci calculator. You think, okay, that's two of my favourite things. There was an Onyx bin.
Yeah, I'm not dissing the prizes, but I would have probably gone for the Dalmatian.
None of these things you have to worry about with Octopus Energy. It is simply Octo points to spend in the Shoptopus.
Well, you have to submit your meter reading to earn a spin. And then you get prizes you don't actually have to persuade yourself you want, like money off your next bill.
You can get £1,000 off your bill. If you get the top prize, which is 800,000 Octo points, £1,000 off your bill just on the spin of a wheel. So the World Snooker had been on, and they have morning session, afternoon session, evening session. The afternoon session starts about 1, usually finishes at about 5. So when Wimbledon is on, for example, House of Games is off air because you know that Wimbledon is it plays across 6 o'clock, and so they keep it on air for the whole time because Wimbledon is giving them enough coverage, and the numbers are high enough that they are happy to leave it on. With the snooker, they can't do that because, as I say, it runs from about 1 till 5, and the rating, the people who watch snooker love it, like me, and the coverage on the BBC is absolutely impeccable. But you don't take House of Games off air because 9 times out of 10 the snooker is finished. In fact, sometimes it will finish at like 4 and they just show, flog it repeats. So on this particular occasion, it's a semi-final and it's a bizarre frame. If people have seen it, there was all sorts online about it. That was the longest frame in the history of the World Snooker Championships at the Crucible. Took an hour. It's like all the reds went over one pocket with the black in front of it. So it was a very unusual frame. We years against Mark Allen.
So we just could add a third circle to that Venn diagram. It's like unusual statistical events.
Yeah, exactly. It was after the frame finished. Steve Davis said it was a disgrace to snooker, but everyone who watched it loved it. So there we go. Because it's unusual. You've never seen anything quite like it before. So we find ourselves in a situation where suddenly the snooker is going over 6 o'clock. Which it never does, or very, very rarely does. And it's a frame which no one's ever seen before. No one's ever seen anything quite like it before. So the absolute normal thing with the snooker is, and it has been for years and years and years, at 6 o'clock, you go over to House of Games and the snooker goes on to the red button all evening. It's on BBC 4. So that every single ball of the entire tournament is on the BBC. But it's on iPlayer or it's on red button or it's on the website. Well, lots of different ways to watch it. And so 5:59, they go, well, for the last 10 years, you've learned how to switch on the iPlayer. So this is now going on the red button and we're going to House of Games. But this was the biggest rating frame of the whole year before the final. There's 1.4 million people were watching it. And that's a lot of people who don't normally watch snooker and who didn't know that you can just turn on to the red button, and the red button wasn't quite working, and all this kind of malarkey. So they switched off from the middle of this incredible frame, or the most boring frame in history, but certainly a lot of people were watching for House of Games, and not just House of Games, but a House of Games repeat. That's the perfect storm we find ourselves in there. If something extraordinary had been happening, absolutely they would have put House of Games on the red button. But I think their thinking is it's just like a frame in the semi-final, and we don't quite know that this is going to go viral, and every single snooker fan knows where to watch the snooker on the BBC, so we'll send them off. And even, it's 1.4 million people watching it. Everyone's going, oh my, but how can they switch off the highest rating thing? But then House of Games is getting like 1.8 million. So what are you going to do? And people who watch House of Games and they have that routine would be beyond furious if you took it off. And in fact, lots of people who were watching the BBC on the red button were furious because the red button stayed on the snooker and they missed House of Games. So, I was looking at one of the House of Games fans on Facebook and they were losing their minds about it. So it's one of those things. Ordinarily, if you know as a channel, if you do have something like Wimbledon and you know roughly, how much content you're going to have, it's very, very easy. You just, you take Pointless off, you take House of Games off, you take those regular shows off. If it's the snooker, as someone was saying, they should just turn BBC Two onto the snooker channel for 2 weeks. And you think,
that'll go down well.
Wouldn't it just? Something like the snooker, it doesn't fill enough hours and it doesn't get enough viewers that you can just move everything out of the way. So yeah, it was a tough call, that one.
For you, for your two tribes, that's hard.
Yeah. For me, it was particularly tough. But honestly, I was watching on the red button anyway, so I just kept watching the snooker because that's where you watch the snooker, because you get to see all of it and you can switch between the tables and all of that stuff. So I think for snooker fans were okay with it, but for people who were just going, oh my God, what is this crazy 100-minute long frame? They were furious that it was taken off for a repeat of a game show, which I get, but listen, nothing to do with me. We should end all of my answers with nothing to do with me.
Nothing to do with me.
Yeah. I don't even do the show anymore. So,
speaking of which, can I ask you, what was the last episode like? Was it?
Oh yeah, so I went up to Manchester last week and did the last ever episode. We brought back people who had been champions and then had won Champion of Champions. So we did our first ever Champion of Champions.
Oh, wonderful!
Which is fun, and people like Miles Jupp was on it. A lot of people who I knew I was going to have a laugh with. It was really, it was lovely, and it was emotional. I love that crew so much. It was nice to be able to say thank you to all of them, and also the amazing producers there know me well enough not to spring any surprises on me. They knew I would just want a good solid week of quizzing.
How many years has it been?
9 years.
God.
Yeah, like 850 episodes, something like that. It was lovely. And then I got to watch Michael hosting as well, and just seeing that the same crew and that same amazing team just carrying on that show, which will hopefully go on forever and ever and ever. Yeah, it was really, really lovely. I loved it, and I couldn't have had a better last week, so I was absolutely thrilled.
And that'll air sometime later this year?
September, roughly? I would have thought.
Yeah,
I would have thought mid-September, something like that. It'll be my last week, and then into Michael's first week. We did a little skit as well for post credits, just like a handover. It was just a little bit of business. Again, it's only a quiz show, but so I wanted to mark it, but it's not it's not like a new pope.
It's a big thing.
A question for you, Marina, from Emily Cooper. Emily says, how should an actor react when they're getting memed on the internet? Should they lean in, brackets Will Smith, say they hate them, brackets Demi Lovato, or pretend they don't have access to the internet, brackets Cillian Murphy?
Cillian Murphy, the internet's boyfriend, who always just says, I don't have a personal email. He says doesn't have a personal email. How does he buy things from the shops? That's the only reason you'd have one. Anyway. But,
do you need a personal email to buy things from the shops?
Well, you can't get your agent to do it. So I'm just going on Amazon to get something.
I suppose you need an email. You need an email address. Yes, I saw it.
Quite annoying if you're using.
But you don't have to answer an email. You don't have to sort of.
No, but you just need to type one in, don't you, all the time?
You don't have to say to Sainsbury's, my order. Hope everything is going well. And they reply, Cillian, just packing it now.
I just get my agents to do that anyway already.
Good idea.
It's just somewhere I already am in a place. Yes, the actor memes, we all know them. Actually, even at the Oscars this year, Conan O'Brien tried to get them to make one. I did think that was a bit like, okay, is it 2016? But trying to get Leonardo DiCaprio, who's very often memed, because he's got that, how would I describe it? Sort of like a subtle awkwardness and wryness, a kind of small expression.
Gotcha.
Whereas someone like Jennifer Lawrence is like, it's all up there on the screen. It's a bit, she's very relatable, kind of chaos or big expressions. Meryl Streep, very theatrical. She's got lots of good reactions. Ryan Gosling's got a specific thing. He's very good at like just the eyebrow raise or the imperceptible stuff. And for me, Ben Affleck, what am I doing? What are we all doing? There's a sort of despair in the Affleck. Yeah, I've been told, I was talking to someone this week actually completely by coincidence, and they were saying that actors are being taught about like meme face. Don't have resting meme face.
Oh my God.
You need resting natural face. We do know this because you know that when you are just in the audience at any award show, any reaction could end up just being clipped forever.
But I'm at the BAFTAs on Sunday.
Yeah, we'll just have resting natural face.
I'm going to be losing my 20th award in a row for House of Games. So I will be. Again. I'm not going to have, my resting face is not going to be impressed.
Okay, well, you could become a meme. When we were talking the other week about select committee hearings and things like that, it's very difficult, to have to constantly be on and not be making any kind of face. I mean, I personally definitely couldn't do it. How should they handle them? I would say, unless it's bad, be grateful is my short answer to this. You have said something emotionally readable that speaks to our culture and speaks to our times. Really, I mean, this is why, that's the reason I'm seeing a lot of Ben Affleck like leaning against the door with a cigarette in his hand, with his eyes shut, looking absolutely despairing. I mean, you've said something that speaks to the times. And also, in an always-on culture, you don't even have to go out there and work. It's just constantly getting circulated.
It's a shame you're not monetizing it, but...
It's a shame, but you're staying in the conversation and there's a trickle-down for sure. I would say to be glad. Obviously, unless it's really bad and you're doing something that's just, oh my God, why did I do that? And forever afterwards, it's being used. In general, though, these things are very easily emotionally readable and they're relatable. Otherwise, we wouldn't keep using them as proxy for our own reactions to things.
And that's an actor's job.
Yeah. And they have become a proxy. You couldn't have explained this to someone 20 years ago. You just couldn't have explained it. But now we use these to put our own emotions out in the world. So I would say it's great and lean in.
Shall we go for a little break?
Let's go for a break. This episode is brought to you by Lloyds, who you can rely on to keep life running smoothly. Now, you know what isn't celebrated enough is the behind-the-scenes work that makes successful entertainment seem so smooth.
You go onto any sort of set and there's the talent and everyone's having to run around after them. But the people having to run around after them are the runners. And there is not a single successful television show that isn't powered by brilliant runners. Whenever you hear a director or actor say, we're all just one big happy family, I always think, and you're the children. And the people who are like running around are actually always the youngest people on set because runners are always really young. It's an absolute first job in the business. And the other key thing is if the runners are good, you don't notice them because nothing goes wrong. And it's very similar to your bank. You just need them to be there when you need them.
Well, like with the Lloyds app, you can check lots of handy things, little details, what payments you have coming up, what subscriptions you're paying for. It is this kind of helpful, smart stuff that makes 14 million people bank on Lloyds.
And that's based on Lloyds' internal customer data from March 2026. But we just want to say thank you to all the runners and thank you to Lloyds.
Welcome back, everybody. Now, as promised, we've got a question about Devil Wears Prada 2.
From Andrew Fletcher. He says, I'm sure more and more films now feature cameos heavily, brackets, Devil Wears Prada 2. What's the logistical challenge of achieving things like this? Now, we thought because Devil Wears Prada 2 is out right now and doing enormous business and does feature celebrity cameos, we asked your question, Andrew, to the director of The Devil Wears Prada 2, David Frankel's.
Well, Andrew, the logistical challenge of having all these cameos is scheduling them. Just getting everybody to show up on time. We were lucky enough that so many people wanted to be a part of the movie, and we actually couldn't accommodate everybody who wanted to be in. But just finding the right spot and then, of course, a lot of them had never been in a movie before. So, Donatella Versace didn't understand that you don't just shoot it once and then go to lunch. There's more than one shot and you have to do it over and over. There's different challenges with each one, but mostly scheduling.
That's so interesting. Funnily enough, from Tina Brown on her Substack this week, she is in a cameo in this movie, and out in the Hamptons or something, where Miranda Priestley obviously has a house, the Meryl Streep character, there's a lunch taking place and Tina Brown's at it, and Cara Swisher, who's,
another American kind of commentator. Yeah.
There's lots of people. And Tina Brown describes the day, and it's really like we all get picked up at 4. We're really excited because we're being The Devil Wears Prada. They've got to sit around. It gets very, very hot by about 11 o'clock. They're sitting around this lunch table. They're having some kind of lobster dish. They're obviously not allowed to have it, but they definitely wouldn't want to eat it after a certain number of hours because it's got very, very hot. And it goes on. I think they finally get out of it at 8 p.m. So that was quite a long lunch, not in the old-fashioned sense. So I definitely think that managing all of those ones are quite difficult, and especially the ones I've seen. There's a Rory McIlroy. Again, why is Rory McIlroy in it? But anyway, in a crowd scene, and I thought that will have taken a while.
Rory McIlroy's in a crowd scene. In
Rory McIlroy's wife, a party, but a party scene, as we know, can take a really long time to do because people are doing the wrong thing in the background.
It feels like a grand idea doing a cameo, but it's always, I would say,
it's like awful. People talk about herding high-end cats, but all of these cats have got, like all cats really, a number of views about their own status. Donatella Versace, I wonder how many times they told us they had to say, yeah, we're just going to do it one more time, actually. No, now we're doing this coverage or that coverage. Is it my coverage?
It always sounds like fun, but films take forever. I mean, and not because people are lazy or stupid. It's one of those things that just takes forever. But Rory McIlroy is also in Happy Gilmore too, so he already knew. I
mean, that's more understandable why he is in Happy Gilmore too.
I know why he's in Happy Gilmore too.
I was very happy to see him in The Devil Wears Prada, but he wouldn't have been my first pick for an automatic cameo.
Yeah, that feels very peculiar. But, it's good for the brand. And ego things. I love that David Frankel's was saying that they couldn't accommodate everyone. So you're thinking, there's some people.
I've read of people having theirs cut. I read some. I don't know whether this is true, that Sydney Sweeney's was cut. So.
But that's the thing as well. It doesn't matter who they are. Yeah. If it's not working for the movie, it's nothing to do with the person in the cameo. It's just the flow of the film and the duration. And you have to cut. Imagine if you had to cut the scene that Tina Brown and everyone's in. Yeah. That's an awful lot of people who...
Well, Tina Brown said she couldn't deliver a line. She thought she could. And then she says, I end up a mute guest at this party. Because even though one of the great talkers, because once she has to say the thing, she said it just sounds like sort of fake words and blah, blah.
It's impossible. That's why, you can't ever... Until that's how I do lots of self-tapes with Ingrid. And until you do it, you think, I can't act. Yeah. I have no way of doing this. I have no way of sounding natural. I cannot do it. And, God bless Rory McIlroy from the Happy Gilmore movie. It was sort of the same. And then you get someone like in Happy Gilmore, which had so many cameos. Bad Bunny, unbelievable.
Yeah. He's in Caught Stealing, and he actually plays a proper role. I think we'll see him out more and more. He's
agreed.
Very good.
John Daly was amazing in Happy Gilmore too. But he was just really, really good.
A showman.
Yeah. It's until you turn up for a cameo and are given a line, you will find out very quickly if you can act or not. And the answer is almost certainly you can't. Question from Tom Rose for you, Marina. Your trope series, we didn't mean it to be a trope series, but we've covered MacGuffins, Chekhov's guns, and red shirts. I would like to ask about breaking the fourth wall. Presumably this comes from theatre, but who was the first to do this on television, and what are your favourite examples?
Oh, yes, this is, it definitely comes from theatre. If you imagine a theatre stage and with a proscenium arch as a sort of three-sided box, and then the bit that you're looking through, that wall is the fourth wall, just to sort of, for anyone who doesn't know what this is. But the characters don't acknowledge the artifice that there's an audience there or whatever. It's almost like, someone's just taken the lid off and we're having a look into their world. And it's the same in TV. It's when people don't look into the camera, that the camera is effectively the fourth wall in television because we're roving everywhere.
Yeah, and when they do directly look into the camera and talk to you,
they're talking to you, the audience. They're acknowledging that we're sort of in a fiction, but we are and we aren't, and whatever. You're right. It's been happening in theatre forever. But actually, interestingly, we didn't even no one thought, in ancient Greek drama, no one thought of it as a fourth wall because it was so normal for them to talk to the audience and whatever. It's only actually in the late 19th century when naturalism as an idea comes in and people start talking about a box set, and a room and a fourth wall, Before then, in Shakespeare, obviously everyone's talking to the audience. There are constant soliloquies and addressing of the audiences and choruses and prologues and epilogues and all of that stuff. It's only actually at the end of the 19th century that becomes a thing. Even in early cinema, it starts to happen and people talk to the audience, which is kind of radical. But on to your questions about TV, I had a look into this. There are some animations where it sort of happens, but I don't think we account animations as what you're asking about. The George Burns and Gracie Allen show, they were a married couple and they were both comedians, and they had a sitcom about being married and in the 50s. So that would have been the 50s. And that happened, then it was a big thing. George Burns himself, and you can see lots of these old episodes on YouTube, and you might have seen them if you've ever been in America. They used to rerun this all the time, certainly, I think, as recently as the 90s, but it does seem very old now. It's black and white and whatever. George Burns used to kind of stand off stage. It was all filmed in a live studio. He would also narrate to the camera. And by the end, he was sort of watching it on TV, which was very, very meta. It's a kind of meta commentary because you're addressing the audience directly. Actually, there's interesting examples, which I really revere David Letterman. I think he's extraordinary and extraordinary broadcaster. And when before he became Letterman of late night, he had a daytime show. And there was a time where once it was going so badly, they were rating so badly and they knew they were going to get cancelled. And he brought on TV onto set and put on what was on the other channel, what was on one of their rivals, and started just deconstructing it and laughing about it. So that's an example. I mean, although you couldn't say that because that's not a fiction and he was but there's a sort of meta to that. Monty Python obviously did it a lot. These days it's almost always done as comedy.
Miranda.
Exceptions to that, Miranda. Exceptions to that are things like House of Cards, but again, that was the US one where Kevin Spacey as Frank Underwood would address the camera, but that was based on the British House of Cards, and it was very theatrical.
It's brilliantly done. Exactly.
Brilliantly done, but something very theatrical about it. So I'm going to say some of my favourites in no particular order, since luckily you didn't ask for that. Ferris Bueller. I love Ferris Bueller and Ferris Bueller's Day Off. I love the way he addresses the camera, because what it does there is invite the audience into a kind of conspiracy of naughtiness and fun, and you're kind of bunking off with him off school, and you just felt like it's about feeling part of the gang. I love that. I love when Woody Allen does it in Annie Hall as Alvy Singer. He said, I really felt like my character was so epitomised the problems of the audiences that I wanted to speak to the audience directly. So it's one of my favourite films. This is going to feel like a period piece because now everything's sponsored and whatever, but Wayne's World, when they did all the sponsorship and talked to the camera, Mike Myers and Dana Carvey in that movie, it felt so radical and so new and so like, oh my God, I can't believe they're acknowledging this thing. And it was a real sort of, again, it's always postmodern and meta. I will actually say that my number one is Phoebe Waller-Bridge in Fleabag, because first of all, you knew it grew out of a theatrical show, and that's why it really works. But also, it was unfashionable doing this. Okay, yes, it was very cool when Mike Myers does it in Wayne's World, but that was ages ago, and that was something sort of, as I say, quite radical. But this was unfashionable, and it just, because no one really did it. It was stagey, and yet it pulled everyone into it. She became someone who epitomized so many women, particularly their issues, their experience of life. And it was so utterly involving. And it was very, very, although, as I say, it's been going on for genuinely millennia, it somehow felt completely fresh and radical new, and also kept its roots in the stage show out of which it was born.
Yeah, I mean, I would have said if I had a number one, but you mentioned it already, Francis Urquhart in House of Cards, because you hit the ground running in that show, and because it feels very Shakespearean, it feels acceptable that someone is, delivering a little prologue to you, and then every now and again he just look at you down the lens and say something to explain what just happened, or
arch, and you felt you were being let into that archness.
But again, it comes from a book, and books have always done it. I mean, Read It, I Married Him.
Yes.
That's the perfect example of breaking the fourth wall. And I've really, I've read lots of books, the slightly sort of Victorian and earlier novels that it is someone is clearly writing a novel. And
Yeah.
they say, I'm writing a novel. Here
Yes.
is our story, dear reader. And I love that sort of thing. I think that I would love.
Well, we like
to
plays
write-
within plays.
Yeah, plays within plays.
I
but
mean, anything like
yeah.
that acknowledges the artifice, but somehow still makes it mean so much.
Yeah.
It is. I'm really into it.
Well, because with a novel, it really makes sense because you are sort of if you're whoever you are, Dickens or whoever, you are recounting a tale that happened to some people, and you're allowed to say, "Here is the tale that happened. I am Charles Dickens," I won't say I'm Charles Dickens if I did it, but I would love to write a book that starts with sort of acknowledging that you're about to tell people a story.
Yes.
That'd be loads of fun.
This can only be for you, Richard. Annie Norris would like to know. She says, I feel this is a question only Richard can answer rightly. Who is the best celebrity quizzer?
I mean, it's a question that would have seemed weird a few years ago because what does that even mean? But now there is a circuit on television, which is Pointless Celebrities, RIP, House of Games, The Chase, Tipping Point, Lucky Stars, Celebrity Mastermind. It attracts all sorts of celebrities onto it, but does also attract celebrity quizzes, which are celebrities who love to quiz. And this is a perfect. So it's really like a 2-speed thing. Celebrity quizzing on TV, because there are people who are just there because it's fun and it's a booking, and there's people who are there because they want to prove themselves. And there is the holy grail of winning the Pointless Trophy, the House of Games Trophy, the Mastermind Trophy, and the Chase. And there's lots of people who've been on all of them. It's tricky because lots of those shows are different, harder to win. Celebrity Mastermind, if you win that, it sort of shows something about yourself. House of Games as well, I think there's sufficient, different difficulties in the questions that's something that quizzes like to do. Something like The Chase, you can be judged on how much money that you've made. Someone who's won sort of all of those shows is Richard Herring. Sometimes people say, Richard Herring must be the best celebrity quizzer. But every time he's on Pointless Celebrities, he did terribly. I think it's like first 3 appearances on that didn't get past the first round. So I'm if you're listening, Richard, I'm disqualifying you. And I have to. Someone like Steve Pemberton, every time he goes on something, does incredibly well. He's a very, very good quizzer. House of Games, very few people have won all 5 shows. Jay Rayner did, Vittorio Angeloni did. But I would say the 2 best celebrity quizzers, in my view, and this goes across The Chase, it goes across Beat the Chasers, it goes across Celeb Mastermind, all of those things. Angela Barnes, I would say, who went 5 out of 5 on House of Games and has done all sorts of things on other quizzes as well. And Sean Williamson, Barry from EastEnders, who was, I think, the first 3-time Pointless Jackpot winner. The 2 of them, I would say.
He's a phenomenon.
He is a phenomenon. I mean, Paul Sinner, of course, is the best celebrity quizzer, really. But in some ways, he's a quizzer.
Yeah, he is.
Because he is like a professional quizzer as well. But he would, if you're, he's a wonderful stand-up as well. So if you just take him as a stand-up, he is, of course, the best celebrity quizzer. But if you want people who were celebrities and just go on quizzes, I'm going Angela Barnes and Sean Williamson.
Next week, we will not be answering any questions because Paul McCartney will be
Paul
answering.
McCartney, yeah.
We'll be answering your questions. We are extremely excited about that. So do join us for that.
And also thank you for, so many questions. So really, really sorry if we don't get to yours. But
we won't be able to get.
Yeah, we won't.
We won't.
But imagine,
There's so many.
But really, really, really some great and very, very smart questions, and hopefully different questions than he's been asked before.
Other than that, tomorrow for our members, we have a bonus episode about the Michael Jackson Pepsi commercial incident. His hair caught fire.
Not the most controversial thing that ever happened to him, but
no. But there was a ripple. There were ripple effects. Anyhow, that's if you want to become a member for ad-free listening and bonus episodes. It's therestisentertainment.com. Otherwise, we'll see you next Tuesday.
See you next Tuesday.